What's up? What's up, everybody? What's up, Sunday fams? Welcome back to another episode of Watching Sundays. Tonight we have The Orville and The Walking Dead. If you want to skip ahead to The Walking Dead, go ahead. We'll leave that time code below. But we've got Season 2 of The Orville that just got announced.
Yes.
I'm very happy about that.
Absolutely. We were waiting for a long time to hear this news. It was kind of up in the air for a while. I think Discovery got renewed, and so we were kind of just waiting on the fact of whether or not Orville was going to do it, but we got confirmation, and so that's good news for the show. It's good news for us. Episode 8, Into the Fold. First things first, I want to say that this episode was probably the most Star Trek TNG feeling episode that I've ever felt throughout this entire season. This is probably the most that has ever mirrored that show, and I want to cite back to like an episode in The Next Generation when Data goes on a vacation or helps Crusher go on a vacation with her son, and so there's kind of parallels.
Father
there.
Figure for the kids in that episode.
The dynamic was a little bit different, but it just reminded me of that episode and how they had their own field trip with the artificial intelligence and then the doctor and her kid.
Right. This is Dr. Finn and Isaac's episode. It's their turn to shine, and they get caught in this spatial fold, which is, the title of the episode is Into the Fold, and they get caught into this other planetary system.
Uncharted, I think, right?
Yeah. This other planetary system where everyone is infected by some kind of
leprosy disease?
Some kind of disease from war or something like that, where they become cannibals, or they're hunting them for food, so to speak. But yeah, Isaac is a badass with a stun gun. He just goes.
There's nothing stopping him from, or nothing holding him back in terms of emotional morals. He just says what he means and means what he says.
Straight to the
straight facts.
Yeah, I mean, these kids, Dr. Finn's kids, are really, really annoying. And I can relate to that because I have twins, and as Isaac said, they are disrespectful, annoying. What else does he say? They are disobedient. Yeah. But on the other hand,
they're everything that kids are.
Yeah. But then he says, "I'm very fond of them."
Yeah.
It's very true. If any of you have kids, you can relate to that.
But see, that's the thing. That's what makes Isaac so badass, is that he gets to talk to Dr. Finn in a way that we can't really talk to people. I mean, he's telling her how to raise her kids, right? In the very beginning.
You don't ever tell any parent how to raise their kids.
Yeah, and he can blame the fact that he's just very straightforward. He has no qualms about.
He's a robot.
Yeah, he has no emotions. I wouldn't say he has no emotions, but again, there's nothing holding him back from saying what he means.
But I kind of feel like because he is this race of robots for this episode, they humanized him a little bit more, even though he doesn't have any emotional circuits. Just like Data and
AIs, they're always learning, right? And so his objective as a representative of Kalon was to study human behavior, and so he's thrown into a familial environment in this episode, and so a lot of this episode seems to position him as kind of like a temporary father figure for the kids. There's many situations like them hugging him when they're scared, right?
Holding his hand.
But he shows that he's Isaac still, and he's like, we need to move forward. If you are undamaged, we need to move forward.
And in the beginning, where his knee was disconnected, we need to fix this without even thinking about how much pain that it might cause. So
one of the things that I thought was pretty funny, and I think it goes hand in hand with the humor that this show seemingly throws at you all the time, is that no matter what planet we're on, we're seeing earthly things.
Everything is related to things that we're familiar of, like screws. What was that called? A rebar.
Yeah. And you pointed out there was a sliding door.
Yeah, when the Dr. Finn was trying to be Tom Cruise or some kind of last action hero outside
Mission Impossible
outside of her terrace or her prison cell or whatever, and she jumps into a patio, looks like an apartment patio, apartment balcony, and it's a freaking sliding door. And she just slides it open and gets in. So yeah, I guess that's something that we can expect for any kind of alien territory.
Everything like
9mm
their water
gun?
jugs, their water jugs too.
Yeah.
Everything just felt familiar. But that, of course, you know, a lot of that is dreamt up by humans, right? So we're always gonna reflect a lot of that familiarity in the sets and the costumes that we're designing. And then Drogon, Shao Kahn from Mortal Kombat Annihilation. I haven't seen him.
Recognize him as soon as possible. He's always he was always the bad guy.
Right.
Like I think he was the bad guy in Cobra with Sylvester Stallone.
Maybe.
I think he was the bad guy
so.
with like kind of like that goth biker gang that he had to go up against at the end. Anyway, he is a notable actor who's always known to be an evil villain for whatever role.
He always has that role, those roles to look forward to.
He was
for
here
damn sure.
and he dies as well. So shout out to whoever his name is.
Brian Peterson or something.
Brian Peterson.
But you know, in facing off with Drogon, we get to see Dr. Finn be kind of a badass herself.
Yeah.
She, like you were saying, she was doing her Mission Impossible things. Yeah. She was sneaking around, and then she went toe to toe with Drogon, and actually won that confrontation.
I was very impressed with that. I mean, she really shined in this episode and kind of showed that she's just not a doctor. She's just not a mom, but she's also she's an officer, I guess.
But in this case, she's more than a doctor, and I thought it was really cool the way they displayed her in this episode.
Yeah. Every character in this show or in the Orville are capable of something, so I'm wondering what the next episode is going to show us. It's the last stance, and Isaac is doing his best to fend off what I don't even know what they're called, like whoever these zombie
we'll call them the diseased cannibals,
the diseased cannibals, the DCs,
the DCs.
The DCs, and it was almost like a teaching moment for her older child.
Right.
With the stun gun, and they fended off.
That was the moment he became a man, right?
Sure.
She took out the gun. He said, "I gotta help Isaac," and then the kid was like, "I'll go."
Yeah, he kind of rose to the occasion,
and there was another father son moment. It was in the heat of battle, but that was kind of cool that they melded it in there. He was just like, concentrate.
Yeah, I mean, they just never really established the father figures, so I guess there is that parallel with that episode that you just talked about. And then the Orville comes in with big giant bombs of stun bombs.
Stun bombs, right? As if
nobody dies.
I mean, we just got done with Dr. Finn saying, "Put it on stun." Because they might not value life,
but we do.
And then bombs, right? So I'm wondering while we're watching this, are those stun bombs now? Like, do these bombs just stun?
Big giant stun bombs.
They surgically struck
the DCs.
Yeah, the DCs, so that they didn't, get hurt.
I guess so.
All right. So final thoughts on the episode. Who's your MVP?
Isaac.
I'm gonna say. It's a tie between Dr. Finn and Isaac.
That's not bad.
Only because Isaac did serve he did serve his purpose, but Dr. Finn inevitably had to do a lot of what she had to do alone. Right? And she's just a doctor.
Yeah, I just thought Isaac was just so awesome in this episode.
Yeah.
Even like they tried to humanize him, but then he was just good.
Yep.
My Kelly meter, there is no Kelly meter because she didn't do shit.
I
think in any episode where she doesn't do too much, I'm gonna give her a 5 because as soon as she gets in there, it just kind of drives it down for me. I'm
not gonna score the Kelly meter again. she only had one job in this episode, and that was to send off Dr. Finn. And story wise, I think this is a good story. It displayed a lot of Dr. Finn. It was a great chance for a lot of character development between
it's definitely
Isaac
a little bit
and
more
Dr. Finn.
serious.
Yeah, definitely.
This one had a little bit more serious tone, so yeah, I think it was okay.
And I actually think this was probably one of the best episodes for me.
I don't know if I like it. I mean, I like it. I don't know if I would say it's one of the best episodes. It was different for sure.
Well, for me, it's the best episode because it was the most the next generation that I've ever felt because, they were stranded and they had some foreign or not foreign, but alien life forms hunting them, and then the Doctor had to make things happen on her own and survive.
I mean, all in all, it was a good episode. I enjoyed it. You thought it was one of the best, and the Orville, it just keeps kicking ass.
Yeah, it does. So moving on to The Walking Dead episode 3, Monsters. So the guy that we met at the end of the last episode, Morales.
Yeah. He didn't last long.
No, he didn't. That's all he got. I mean, he had some words for Rick.
I think
apparently.
as soon as you saw him having so much dialogue, it was like, oh, this guy's gonna die.
Yeah, he was spending a lot of his budget, like in
his screen time
in the first few minutes, and then Daryl came in and was just like, "What up, dude?" Right there in the head, and did Rick kind of like...
It's kind of like this balancing act now with like their morality, their humanity is on the brink. It's on the line, and Rick gets this little episode where he sees the baby and then he starts to care, and now all of a sudden has a change of heart, but then Daryl is still on this kill everything in your way mode, and so
he was no mercy in this episode. I think there's a juxtaposition between humanity and doing what you have to do in every single group. Which is odd because in the King and Carol's group, they seem to just not have any qualms about moving forward, right?
Yeah.
So in Tara and Jesus' group, obviously there's a little divide with how they want to approach things, and in Rick and Daryl's group, I mean,
there's definitely like this, like you're either in to destroy everything or kill everyone, or you're there with for the sake of humanity, try to strive for peace, as Jesus is trying to do.
I do like what Daryl said when he took him down. He was just like, I know who he was. It just doesn't matter.
That was just cold-blooded killer. That was just cold-blooded, man. I mean, he didn't care because they had one mission, and then people in all of these groups are going back and forth with what they have to do. It's almost like we all know what we have to do. We have to kill them all, right? Jesus saves him. He gets into a little spat with Morgan. It's your Jedi versus the American Ninja, which I've been waiting for.
It's a battle between what do you want to do? Do you want to end this right now, or do you want to live with the possibility that they go on to, make things worse for you, right? You take prisoners, they turn out to kind of be contributing members of your society, or you take prisoners and they get away, and then they turn the tables on you again.
I would have to just be on the side of starting from scratch. Eliminate those who are a threat, and then start your community, start building the world that you want. Because that ain't never gonna go away. If that group did something bad, and it just keeps going back and forth. It's like War of the Clans or something like that. It's
right.
Just like warring tribes. There's always going to be bad blood.
I definitely think I'm less and less inclined to be on Jesus' side at this point. But I do think that there is redemption for some people. Like the people who are like not fully, I'm Negan and I believe everything. I know, but there's that guy that always went to the Kingdom's meetings who was always egging on Morgan.
The guy with the long hair.
Yeah, I was just like, Morgan, just impale him already. Just kill him.
Yeah.
And then there are some people who are just like, I surrender, and they may be lying, right? They may be lying, but just to be devil's advocate and play the Jesus card, there may be people there who were forced to do what they're supposed to do, or they were kind of pushed to be part of the saviors in order to save their families, right? And so not all of them are just there because they like being bad.
Oh, they're just on the wrong side. They're just on the wrong side, and they're just going to become casualties of this war. But I mean, the title of this episode is Monsters. It's very much of a symbol of their struggle, right?
Yes.
Their inner struggle. And I would have to agree with Morgan too. Like he, just because he's not right in the head doesn't mean he's wrong. They just have to eliminate all of them. That's my take.
Rick and Daryl had to, I guess, kind of rough it against their reinforcements. It was just them two. And I'm going to say this now because this is what I believe. No one is a match for either of them. It's like Rick and Daryl are like the most dangerous people in the Walking Dead world.
And the most safe.
and even more so in this episode, right? I mean, Daryl, they like went Last of Us style, right? They used.
They were surrounded. They were out of ammo.
Yeah, they used the cover from the extinguisher, and they took them out, and they survived what would be to other people a dire situation.
Right.
And then Daryl goes on to like shoot this kid that was like
brutal.
If I tell you, will you let me go? And then Rick is like, I'll give you my word, because a man's word has got to be valuable, right, Coral? And then Daryl was just like, nah, man, boom.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, it just feels like, okay, we're in sync. We have one mission. Okay, we have one mission: kill everybody. And then everyone, I mean, Rick himself they're flipping back and forth with whether they need to kill people or let them live. It's kind of just the battle.
So what do you think Maggie should do with all those prisoners?
I think she should just feed them. Feed them to the walkers.
feed them to the walkers?
Yeah, feed them to the walkers. Like, there's... I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't want to talk about, like, how war has casualties, but, like, in this instance, like, I feel like...
I don't think they can afford to feed those mouths, especially if half of those mouths are responsible for killing half of your community.
But then, I mean, I guess it's like my mind right now is just going back and forth. Like, what do you do? Like, do you, for the sake of humanity, do you strive for peace or just wipe them out and start over?
I think in this situation, with the community as detrimental to humanity as the saviors, you kind of have to strive for a start over with them.
Yeah.
I don't think you can pursue peace with people who follow a guy like Negan, right?
But it's like, but I feel
that's where I thought Gregory was in the wrong, and I thought it was funny how Maggie was kind of treating him like a child.
Yeah. He's so annoying.
He just kept on talking. You just get
rid of him already.
Talking, and I loved it when Maggie was like, "Gregory, go to your room." It was just like mother and son. She
your
just
time out.
She just put the hammer down and completely removed him from any type of authoritative position in the hilltop.
When Aaron and Eric had their little moment there, like, I was just like, wow, are you kidding me? Like, if that was somebody I loved, like, I would not leave him. I'm like, oh, can't you stop the bleeding or something, or do whatever you can? Like, I don't know. Like, if that is somebody that I loved, I would not leave him. That's just me.
I'm not a medical person, and I don't know. I mean, the question.
I mean, you knew what was gonna happen.
The question comes down to whether or not you want to stick around for the end, or do you want to try your best to save them? Now, if trying your best to save them involves you leaving, that might be the right course of action. But then again, as you said, you love them. You have all these emotions running through your head, and so you have to deal with that turmoil. But at the end of the day, we don't know what the right decision is.
I just know that if that was my wife, I would not leave her, and then, come back. When you come back, that there's only.
But there's only so much.
But you would come back, and then you would have just kill yourself, thinking in your head that you could have done more.
Right. I mean, but there's only so much you could do. I mean, that's why I say, do you just stick around for the end? Because if you can't stop the bleeding,
there's no way you know that was the end, though.
I'm just saying, if you can't help her, if you can't fix the wound, and the only thing that's gonna happen is she's gonna bleed out. Does that become you just waiting for the inevitable and just making things comfortable from an emotional sense?
That's a tough one, man. That's a tough one.
So final thoughts though on the episode.
I really liked the Morgan versus Jesus fight, even though the fighting sequence could have been better, but I mean, Ezekiel is just badass. Like, I love his character, and I was just waiting from the past 2 episodes that something is going to go wrong.
And it did, right?
And it did at the end. But I was just like, oh shit! It's like we lost not one, at the end, and then.
You find out that's where they brought their guns.
Yeah.
And damn, they got mowed down. I don't know how many people.
It looked like 4 or 5 tried to save Ezekiel because then they took the shots.
He's gonna live.
He's gonna
live for sure. It looks like from the preview that Carol's gonna be doing some sort of like Metal Gear Solid style infiltration into that compound, and hopefully they get those guns.
Yeah, we have not seen a badass Carol moment yet, and. She's gonna that moment's gonna happen. She's awesome.
My MVP is probably Daryl. I know it's like cold-hearted and it's monstrous of him, but like he's effectively moving the story forward. We've got 5 minutes.
Screw morality. Like we don't have no time
Rick,
for that stuff.
Having a tug of war of like, I'm not the monster, we're the same, or something like that, and they're just like, Daryl comes in, he's like, we gotta move on.
It's like, boom, stop it, let's go. You guys are talking too much.
He effectively played him off stage at an award ceremony, and then at the end, he takes out that kid. He's like, no, we can't deal with this. And so the way he's approaching everything and taking this act now, think later type of mentality, it's getting a lot of things done, but it's obviously has its drawbacks. You're more of a monster. You lose more of your humanity, but at the end of the day, in this episode at least, he's my MVP because he moved things along.
Man, I don't know who my MVP is. I'm not gonna have an MVP for this one. I don't know. I'd go for Ezekiel again, I guess. I mean, he every time he shows up, I just have this big smile on my face, and so there, Ezekiel.
Story-wise,
it was great because the past 2 episodes were leading me into thinking that something has to go wrong, and then when this whole episode rolled out, everything was going right, and then it went wrong. So that was cool.
We don't have a Dwight meter this episode because we didn't see him, and there's no further revelation as to what happened with him.
Well, they moved the guns to a different location, so maybe he didn't know. So
yeah, I mean, the kid didn't say that we were warned to move them, right? They just moved them, just happenstance,
No Dwight meter today.
So, great episode. Lots of Daryl killing things.
Great episode. It was good. It was a good way to showcase the balance between their humanity and this kind of world. So, what are we doing? Are we giving it a grade?
I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5. I'm gonna give it a 3.5 out of 5. And I think, and you know what? Morgan's losing it. Like, is he lost for good? Is he going back to being a hermit? Who knows?
We'll see. Yeah. I mean,
well,
that's it.
All
right. Well, that's it for us on this episode of Watching Sundays. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a thumbs up and subscribe. Hit the bell notification so you know that we post. And that's usually on a Sunday.
Yeah, and if you guys are wondering where those Polaroids go in the episode of Walking Dead, make sure you check on Facebook the next day, because I'm sure there's going to be one there.
Social media in The Walking Dead. We'll see you guys next week.